Dr. Greed, thanks for taking time again to meet with me. Appreciated our call over the phone the other day.
Yeah, I feel like we had like a lot of really good talks over the phone, and I'm really excited to kind of like get through some of the details today of like how we're gonna make this work. So
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the information we talked about last time. You mentioned kind of the expertise that you'd be bringing to our company, and also your experience within the lighting industry.
yeah, so
Well, great. I guess if you know the background of the company, and you've been speaking with my father, is that right?
yeah, me and your dad, Mark, we've been talking quite a bit. He's been telling me a little bit about you, and he's also been telling me about the stuff you want to do, and so. And plus, we've had like a lot of prior conversations, so I feel like I know pretty well like what you're kind of wanting to do for the company. So,
Yeah. I guess just coming into a new company, like you mentioned, just me trying to really put this on the ground to get going with it. I'd be new to the Halrubian area, trying to kind of find my own niche. And I understand that you have expertise in the lighting industry, as I mentioned. But I was just kind of curious about the business dealings in the area. So I kind of want to get to that a little bit later on. But it seems like you're having a good day thus far.
yeah, things have been going well. I've been really looking forward to this meeting for a while now. So a little bit about like the business dealings in this area is it's all done with relationships. You know, I know these people personally, like, and I've spoken with them and we've worked together for a long time, and it's kind of something like. It's kind of like how I have my foot in the door, but I don't even just like have a foot in the door. I kind of have a foot into their lives. Like
Really?
we've been developing these relationships. I mean, I've been working in this area specifically for 20 years, and I've worked my way up through the chain to become CEO of this region. So, like a lot of these people, I've worked for many, many, many years. So.
Yeah. You mentioned 20 years. That's quite some time. What has been, I guess, a downfall in the area? What have you seen been a problem in these last 20 years?
So yeah, that was something that I really wanted to bring up with you. Is I'm so frustrated with my current company. In fact, I just really don't feel like they respect me, and I don't feel like they listen to me because I see these things, I see these needs, and nobody wants to fulfill them at my company. Like they're just not listening to me at all. And so I've actually been considering leaving that company to work with you and pursue those leads that I've been noticing. And I like people come and talk to me. They say, why don't we have some of our reflectors to, keep our energy costs low? Like, why don't we have solar? Like, why don't we have any, like, new technologies? So something that I'm hoping with you is that we can work together to bring, like, new technologies, like, unique offerings, because, I mean, people already know where to get normal light bulbs. It's from medicine. But people don't necessarily know where to get these more specialized products. So.
Yeah, I think understanding what you said about technology. Why has that not happened with Edison bulbs with your company?
So their R&D department is just slow. Like, so they don't let a product be launched unless they think it's going to be a global success.
Okay.
So they're just very, very, very hesitant. So it takes a long time to develop products, and it takes a long time to get them out. And so by the time they come out, I mean, the competitors are already doing what we're doing. Like, we have nothing is ever cutting edge. And the other thing is they don't cater to specific regions. Everything's done the same. Everybody. There's 40 regions at my company. I'm one. Granted, I might be the fourth largest, so I'm a pretty large region, but it doesn't matter if it's not going to work for everyone. So.
Yeah, there has to be a way to make revenue, to make a profit, right?
Yeah.
And I guess what have you seen been greatly successful? I mean, you mentioned within your company there's kind of a discord, but how do you find success as a leader?
So during my time as CEO, I've actually been showing really good growth over time.
Yeah.
But it necessarily hasn't even been appreciated. I still come and I get bothered all the time. They're like, well, why aren't your numbers higher? Why ain't this number? And it's like, I'm doing the best with what I can, but I'm not just I can't fulfill every single need if I don't have the products that I need to fulfill them with. So I've been feeling frustrated because I feel like I have been improving with what I have. Year over year, we've been growing, we've been doing better, and we've been doing really great in this area. And I mean, we're the fourth largest and also the fourth best selling. So I mean, out of 40 regions, I mean, I'm in top 10. So I've been able to lead my region to success.
it seems like even though you're putting all of this work into your company, it seems like you feel like you're not getting that recognition.
Yeah, I'm not getting recognized, and I don't even necessarily get to be like a decision maker. Like that's something that I'm really craving, and that I'm hoping that with this relationship that I'll be able to have some input on some of the decisions that we're making, and that I feel like my industry knowledge and like experience will actually be respected here. So
Yeah, I think what you said about bringing knowledge to the table is an incredible asset. You mentioned before kind of the decision-making process. I guess in your career with these, well, more than 20 years, is there any decisions that you didn't feel comfortable with?
Um, hmm. You know, I try to be fairly confident with my decisions. I guess I can't really think of a specific example right off the bat. So, but yeah, I've tried to make pretty decently educated decisions. So I feel like I've never really had like a crazy bad, experience of like things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. As I come into this game, I really don't want to have those bad experiences. My aim is to be cutting edge. Like you said, there's that place in the market where there's a need, there's a want for great quality products at an affordable price. And what I really want to accomplish is taking your knowledge and the new enthusiasm and the energy and the passion that I have, and being able to be a leader in the market without making those bad decisions.
Okay, so are you referring to like professional relationships? Like if things have ever been a little iffy at all? Is that something that you're referring to?
Yeah, I guess just the relationships that we build with customers, not to burn those bridges.
Okay. Yeah, early on in our career, maybe we had a little bit more offhand tactics. It's something that I've tried to get away from in the past couple of years, but I will admit, earlier in my career, I wasn't as knowledgeable, so I kind of maybe left put emphasis on things that maybe I shouldn't have. So I think something I don't really necessarily do as much now, but earlier on in my career, yeah. So, but I feel confident that if we had the products that people are looking for, then maybe I wouldn't need to turn to such, kind of drastic measures. So.
Yeah. How did you resolve those measures?
I don't remember. How do we resolve them? I kind of sent in my salespeople just to kind of smooth things over and make sure everything was still all right. So I kind of defaulted to some different personnel, and we had multiple people come in and smooth things over. So.
Yeah, I think what you said is very important. I really want to be working with other people. I've been taking calls from other leaders, trying to gain as much mentorship as I can. But I guess where I'm lacking is that sales force, that sales team.
Okay.
Last time we talked to you, you mentioned Sam Schaefer.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
How much does he know? Have you been able to brief him on our deal, or is he able to meet with us again?
He hasn't met with us yet. Both of us together. But we eat lunch together. We eat lunch in the same room. We talk. He's feeling similar to me. He's feeling a little frustrated, feeling a little stagnant. He's kind of just hanging around because he hasn't found something that piqued his interest.
Okay.
If you want Sam, I think I can help you get Sam to come over. We're buddies. He's already craving something different. It wouldn't be a very hard conversation. So, due to my nature as the CEO of Edison, I haven't necessarily brought up other opportunities because of a conflict of interest. But if I were to leave Edison, I gotta sell. I can give him a call. We can set up lunch for another day. So if you want Sam, I can get you Sam.
Okay.
So.
You mentioned conflicts of interest. What would those be?
Just specifically, currently as I'm working there, I'm not supposed to be heavily invested in companies that are in the same industry. So, just because I feel like I'm already bringing industry knowledge. I don't think I should also be bringing insider knowledge from my other company. So if I were to go with you, I am gonna actually just go ahead and quit at Edison because I don't. I'm trying to be a better person. I've learned more over time, and I don't want to, totally, completely be, playing two sides of the same table. So
I agree. I appreciate what you said. You mentioned in our last conversation that you're approaching retirement.
yes.
And I guess the question I pose to you is how do you want to end your career, Dr. Greed?
So I want to end on a good note, and I feel like I'm not necessarily getting that good note at my current position. So I would love to take what I've learned over my entire career and help you and help out both of us, kind of be like a little bit of a duo, kind of like new versus old, like I know things that you don't, and you know things that necessarily I don't specialize in. So I think we could be a good fit. So.
I agree. I think it's really important. You mentioned that you'd be willing to leave Edison Bulbs, and that's a big decision. And that also takes a lot of time. What is a time frame that you'd be looking at if we were to consider a serious deal? What would be your time frame?
Probably within 3 months. I could be finished there. So, yeah, within 3 months, I think that would be fine.
Okay.
Something I'm interested in is what do we need to get started? What kind of funding are you looking for?
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in a little bit as well. You mentioned that you're bound under contract, that you cannot commit or you cannot give insider trading.
Yeah.
And if that 3 months is that transition period, and if we're interacting, I think information would come out.
Okay.
I feel like it wouldn't really be appropriate if you're running a company that's competing with my startup, or if I'm running a startup and you're providing me funds to do so. I guess the profits you make from Edison Bulbs would also be contributing to my company. Is that correct?
Yes. Repeat this one more time.
So I was saying the profits that you make as the CEO, the
Yeah.
money that you have that you would be willing to invest, that would have to be coming from somewhere. It'd be coming from Edison Bulbs. Is that right?
Yeah, it'd be coming from my salary, but it's also coming from my personal savings and some of my other investments, so it's not 100% coming from them. So, but I did earn that money. It is my money, and I can choose what to do with my money, especially after I've left the company. It just takes a little bit to to kind of tie everything with a bow. It's not, I can't just drop my hat and just quit, out of nowhere. So that's why I kind of want that 3 month period to give them time to be able to find a new CEO, to be able to do some things. If I need to be hands off for the first 3 months, and then I can come in with my investment and my participation, I'm willing to do that. I could set aside a little bit of time, but if we need to have that transition period where I'm a little more hands off right off the bat, then we can do that. So I'm sure it will take some time to get things going, so maybe you can work on things that are maybe more in your skill set.
Yeah.
Specifically with the overseas suppliers, it's going to take a while to get those relationships developed and those suppliers found. So I think that 3 months we could have that time just to transition.
I agree. I think 3 months is a good transition period. What is the maximum amount of time and money you'd be willing to invest under contract?
Under contract?
Legally, honest sales, honest investment.
I can only do 5%. That's as much as I can do while I'm under contract. So I am able to give some support and some funding right off the bat, but I won't be able to give necessarily more until those 3 months are over. So,
if you were to put a monetary value on that, rather than percentage, so I can best understand, what is the number you'd be thinking?
I'd be able to do 50,000 right off the bat.
Okay.
That could cover some of our first upcoming things, but yeah, 50,000.
Okay, so you'd only be able to be able, we're 5%, so that leaves me with 95.
Yeah.
And I'll also be outsourcing to some other people as well for investments and equity in the company. That leaves you at a disadvantage. I think how we can make up for that, Doctor, is that 5%, that investment in our company, we could make up with time. I think I could be accounting for, and I'd be taking the brunt of the work anyway. But if you're only able to offer $50,000 in that first 3 months, I guess what I'd really appreciate is your time.
Yeah.
If you're willing to offer like 10 hours a week, just maybe like a day or two.
Yeah.
Willing to mentor me a little bit so I can get this up and running.
Yeah, I can do 10 hours a week.
kind of progressing forward, if you're bound by 5%, I think that the remaining 9 months of the year would be a little bit more of a mutual beneficial relationship. I think that the last 9 months of that startup year, I think if you're wanting to ease more into retirement, I can give you more space. But something to consider is, how long do you foresee yourself in this business engagement? Do you see yourself being here just for the year in order to help me get it up and running? Or are you going to be a long-term investor? Do you want us to pay you out after a couple of years? What is it, something you're looking for?
I'm looking to be pretty heavily involved for the first 5 years.
First 5, okay.
Yeah, just so that we can get things really established. I mean, within the first 5 years, I mean, that's kind of when a business is a baby. It needs a lot of care, it needs a lot of love, it needs a lot of attention. But after that, it doesn't, necessarily. That's when you start bringing more people on board. There's more capital coming in. So after 5 years, I would be willing to start, maybe selling off and, not having as high of a percentage. I'd still love to be, a stakeholder, still have some influence, but I think after the first 5 years, it won't be as, I won't need to be as heavily involved as I am during the beginning of doing this startup phase. So.
Okay, so you mentioned the time and attention you'd be willing to give. I think if you're only able to give 5% in our company, somewhere where we could kind of meet in the middle, benefiting you and also benefiting our company, is that talk about Sam, about a sales representative. What quality or what standard do you hold Sam to? I don't know anything about him. Is he?
With my position at Edison, I kind of let Sam do what he wants.
Really?
I've given him a lot of freedom, and he kind of has that flexibility to kind of do deals how he sees fit. And because of that, he's been able to bring in really high margins. If that's not something you're comfortable with, you can kind of bring it down and kind of assign roles and be a little more regulated with him. But just for reference, he's used to getting a lot of freedom and a lot of independence at Edison. So that's something that you need to be aware of. That's what he's used to, and he does well with it. I mean, he brings in really good contracts, and he does really well. I mean, he makes us a lot of money, so he's good at what he does. But you may want to keep a close eye on him if that's something that's important to you.
Have you had issues with him in the past?
Yeah, he kind of does things on his own, in his own way. So, sometimes he's done things that maybe I wouldn't have approved of knowing beforehand. But I mean, I was really happy with the results, and
really?
That's just something that wasn't regulated at our company that heavily. So, but yeah. So if you do want to work with Sam, that is a hesitation that you might need to work with him and set more boundaries, because he didn't really have boundaries over at Edison. So. Does that give you something to think about?
What would be a repercussion if he did something we didn't approve of, Doctor?
I mean, we probably have to come up with some kind of discipline structure. We never really had much of that at Edison. We were kind of just pushing for numbers. That's something that our headquarters really pushed for, was just numbers. So if we want to develop a different kind of culture here, we can. I'd be willing to work with you to help get that established. It's maybe not my forte, because I've been used to, most of my career has been pretty number focused, but I'm willing to be a little flexible on company culture. So, because in the end, I'm older. I'm not going to do this for 50 years. It'll be you that takes over a lot of the responsibilities as time continues on. So. I just want to help give my mentorship and kind of have a strong footing in the company to help it grow and help it become better. But in the end, I'm all right with you making decisions, things like company culture, discipline, things of that nature. So
I think we'll talk about this a little bit later on as well.
Okay.
So basically, thus far where we're at is trying to make that culture, trying to make halal materials successful. Stand out in our industry, and able to really contribute in a positive way to the environment. I really want to be able to use the cutting edge technology in order to get our product to people as quick as we can.
Okay.
And in the most integral way that we can. We want to be ethical with this too. What you'd be bound by, like you mentioned before, is that 5%.
During the first 3 months, yeah.
But within the first 3 months, exactly. At the 3 month mark, actually, for those remaining 9 months of the year, we would be able to ease you into it. Obviously, could you be transitioning from your company? We'd love to offer you 30% of the equity.
Okay.
And also the ability to really have more freedom. We wouldn't require you in the office every single day. I'd be spending a lot of time in meetings. And within that 30%, your responsibility would really just be maybe attending those meetings with me. So I kind of have backup and in order to really build stronger relationships with these companies.
Okay. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a little bit higher. I mean, I'm quitting my job for this, and I'm kind of bringing, all of my knowledge, my experience, and my relationships in this region specifically. So I'm looking for higher than 30%. But it is a pretty enticing offer, though. I do respect that's a pretty good, generous first offer. So.
Exactly. Do you think it would be a hindrance to the relationship that we have if you already have relationships coming from Edison Bulbs? Does that restrict us and who we can talk to in the community for hollow materials?
As soon as I switch over, I don't think we'll have any issues. So I think we'll have to spend our first 3 months maybe building products and with relationship with suppliers.
Yeah.
But after the first 3 months, I'll come in and I'll help bridge that gap, and I'll help bridge that relationship to keep those relationships going, even though I've switched companies.
What other responsibilities would you be willing to take on if we were to discuss further equity?
I'd be interested in, I can help manage. I mean, I can help find and hire employees. That's something that I've been doing most of my time there. As CEO, I was in charge of a lot of hiring. So I'd be willing to help find us the right people to help build our company. So.
Okay, you mentioned finding the right people. How would we go about doing that? How would we find the right quality people for our company?
I have a lot of local connections that I think we can work our way into, and I think also, just more, I'll go with local connections.
You mean by connections, are they a lot like the ethics of Sam? Do you feel like sometimes they make decisions you don't approve of?
I'll definitely have to be a little more inquisitive when I hire, to get to this company's standards. So. Yeah.
So if we were to move that equity split by an extra margin of 5%, and you were to take greater responsibility and working with me to hire, obviously because I really want the skills that you have within finding quality people, but I also want to have greater discipline than you have at Edison Bulbs. I really want to stand out in the community. So at that 35% equity range, within that first 9 months, well, the 3 months and then the last 9 months, that way you have a greater responsibility and you're getting a greater payout for leaving your company.
Okay. Is there any room to move that a little closer to 40, or are you pretty stuck at that number?
As far as moving that number, we'd have to move it in different ways because I'd be doing most of the work. The remaining 65% of equity I'd be working hard for.
That's true.
And so it'd be a lot more intensive for me. My time would be in it a lot more, and that's why we're at that point.
Okay. I think we can settle on 35 for the first 5 years, and then as time after that, I may end up, not wanting as much influence, and I might start selling off some of that equity. I think 35 we can settle on that.
Okay. So something as well as for appreciation that you've given our company within the first 5 years, depending on our successes. We really want you to settle, and we'd love to set a retirement plan as we're getting more supportive. But I just wonder, what are you doing at Edison Bulbs right now for retirement?
I just have my own retirement plan that I've worked on myself. I don't necessarily have something through them.
Yeah, something I'd really love is to put together a package, like a package within our community, within our company, to have success.
Okay.
And you can help me create that, and we can find a way that you can benefit from the end as well.
Okay.
So that's with the $50,000 initial investment, being able to really discipline our employees. You'll be able to talk to Sam. And next week, actually, if we're able to have lunch with him, I'd greatly appreciate that.
Okay, great.
And then 35 for that first 5 years. And then the time we mentioned before was that 10 hours a week just for the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And then anytime you feel you need off, we can make that happen.
Okay, great.
Is there any other questions you have, Doctor?
No, I don't think so. I think I'm really excited to see where this goes and see where this leads. I think we'll need some more meetings to kind of define, our different types of cultures and what we want to do. But I think we're headed in a really good direction. So.
Perfect. Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'm willing to sign off.
Perfect. I would love to carry this conversation a little bit more. Obviously, we've signed an agreement, but the agreement I'll bring next week is actually for Sam.
Okay.
And we can find a way that he can get paid either through my equity or a share of our own.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Appreciate your time. Thanks,
Yep.
Doctor.
Thank you, John.